Okay, so hi. Welcome to Behind the Hype. With me, as always, is Chewy Darso. I can say your last name. Good lord.
Yes, you can.
And Jonathan Harthusty.
Hello.
I'll be just as nice to both of you.
Oh man, I would have missed out.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been right had I not. So I know we had said that this month we are going to be spending time on Taika Waititi, and I was really excited to do that. And then given the current political climate, it no longer kind of felt right. The more we kind of looked at our slate and what we had coming up and movies that we were watching, we realized that we weren't really doing what a lot of people have sort of said that we should. And they were right. We need to kind of expand our view. We need to take in different filmmakers and expand explore stories that really aren't in our normal viewing habits. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sound right?
Yeah.
So we decided to go with John Singleton, famed director. He had a fantastic career. Died very tragically, way too young last year. And I'd always known him because I'd seen this movie for this week quite a few times when I was in film school because I just loved the hell out of it. But Chewy and John had not. So we're starting things off with his first movie, Boyz in the Hood.
I definitely had never seen this movie before now. It kind of it's the type, even beyond it being a social situation that I have no relation to. It's also a coming of age movie, which I don't normally go towards.
Yeah.
Much to Brian's chagrin. Is that the right word?
I think so.
Chagrin? Or
yeah.
Distaste?
Yeah.
Brian wants me to like coming of age movies more.
They're good movies. They're always usually, not always, a lot of them are pretty big like boy movies. Like even this one's kind of a boy movie.
Yeah, Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, no.
So it's two things that I don't go towards. So definitely while we were watching it, I'm like, I cannot relate to this other than the feelings of trying to make something of myself, because I think that's a universal thing.
Yeah.
But the pressure on the men in this movie is much harder.
Yeah. You're talking about Nick, the wanting to be like a football player.
Just all three of them.
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, they all have a ton of pressure on them. They're just
they all deal with it
coming
differently.
all three of them are dealing with it very differently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. And
John, what about you? Like you had never seen this before either, right?
no. And I'm going to admit up front that like my viewing habits up until recently have not been very diverse. And as a kid, I've always been aware of movies like this because I mean, you go to a Blockbuster or a rental shop and you see covers like the Boyz in the Hood cover, which I remember seeing, and just it never came up. And I don't know, one of the chief regrets for me is that I've never given a movie like this a chance, especially after seeing it a couple nights ago and just kind of being blown away.
Yeah, it's a hell of a movie. And I don't remember when I saw it. I don't remember if it was like my freshman or my junior year in college. Basically, I don't know if I was in Carbondale or Chicago. But I remember seeing it just the one time and going, holy shit, I love that movie. And then I just watched it, I want to say 2 or 3 more times before I had to give the movie back to whoever I borrowed it from. And it wasn't because the story particularly grabbed me, because like we've said before, there's not really a ton that I can relate to, at least beyond the overall arching themes that everybody can relate to of wanting to become better and, make something of yourself. It was just the filmmaking of it. Like, it just kind of had that really raw indie film, almost like Clerks sort of vibe of like, these guys just went out and made the best film they possibly could with whatever they could. And it turned out to be something awesome, which was something when I was in film school I gravitated to every time because I was that film nerd. Yeah. And this was just another perfect example of that, and telling a very different story than something like Clerks, even though they both take place around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting coming to this movie, having grown up around the, for lack of a better way to put it, just the white indie scene, the Clerks, the all that, where it's kind of like disaffected teenagers, but in the safety of being white, and just seeing this whole turn on it was, I don't know, if I seem hesitant and kind of stuttery, it's because I'm still thinking about it, and I haven't stopped since a couple days ago.
One of the things that...
Well, before we start jumping into specifics, let's actually do just a quick breakdown in case, like some of us, you just have never gotten around to it and you're just listening to it today. I'll do it as quickly as I can. So, Trey, the main character, is a young boy growing up in a very, very rough neighborhood. And his mom has basically given him an ultimatum that if he gets in trouble again, or if he gets into a fight again, he's going to have to go live with his dad. And he does, and he does. So his dad is going to teach him how to be a man, how to control that temper inside of him, and to be a better person. Ironically, the man who's going to teach him how to control his temper is named Furious, but whatever.
It's Furious Styles.
It's a badass name.
That is a strong name.
So he grows up. He's still in a bad neighborhood in South Central LA, and he has some friends who've been in and out of jail. But basically, it just kind of takes place in his near-end last whatever of high school. He's about to graduate. He's taking his SATs, and then his friend Nikki is trying to get to be a football scholarship so he can join the NFL, or maybe the military, he thinks, for a little while. And then their other friend, Doughboy, is he's a drug dealer. I don't know if it was crack or cocaine or both, but
They made reference to the
cocaine.
cane.
Is it cocaine? Okay, so he is a drug dealer, still hanging out with all of his same friends. But beyond being a drug dealer and a bit of a gangster, kind of seems like an all-around nice guy. Like, is always really nice to everybody in the movie, except for the guys he's really not to.
Yeah.
But they did such a good job making him seem like a friend who's also kind of a scary human being.
What?
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I know that was kind of off topic from the whole breakdown. Basically, so you have all these guys, and then basically they get into an argument at a party with another gang, I think, or just group. I couldn't really tell. And they kill each other over it. It was a bump in the shoulder. And the one guy who looked to be doing really great, the football kid, gets killed. And then Doughboy gets killed after the movie ends. And it's all...
Yeah.
very sad, and it just kind of crushes you as you watch it.
Yeah, I didn't feel good.
Nope.
I'm not supposed to feel good after watching this movie.
No.
No.
But that's why I kind of
You're
even
supposed to
lost
think
steam in the breakdown. It's just like, it just crushes you.
And it resonates even more with the ending kind of monologue.
Ice Cube's monologue?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
About him waking up. He never wakes up early in the morning. He watched the news.
Yeah.
And it's talking about all this violence in these foreign countries, and he's just like, do they ever look around themselves? I can't quote him exactly right now, but
Yeah.
he's a very poignant moment of him
Like
dealing with the fact that his brother is dead, and he just murdered 3 other people because of it. And it's not even just because that they killed his brother, it's because any relationship that he had with his mother seems to also be gone.
Yeah.
It's like, because she blames him for him dying, even though he had nothing to do with it.
All he did was defend his brother. His brother
Yeah.
started it.
Yeah.
Well, the other guy started it by shoulder checking him. He did that on purpose.
Well, sure, yeah. But had he not reacted and then made Ice Cube step in to defend him, that's how it all escalated.
Yeah. It escalated.
And it's so stupid. And it's just something so stupid.
And I guess they were a antagonist thing earlier, because there's one time when Trey is crossing the street and he happens to get in front of their car, and then he has the gun pulled on him, and you just see Cuba just standing there waiting for them to go away. And at that moment, we don't know who they are, why they're there, why they reacted like that. So I guess they already had tensions.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a very intense scene. And it also parallels the scene with the other cop when that night of the party where all that stuff goes down. Just
Both scenes
waiting
of
at the end of a
Cop are
gun.
just crushingly awful to watch.
Yeah.
The first one, you didn't think it could get any worse. Just listen to him talk to Furious, like on the front lawn, and just the way that Lawrence Fishburne just decimates him. Like the whole, is there something wrong? Yeah, there's something wrong. It's just a shame you don't know what it is. Like, it's just, oof, that was a rough scene. And then at the end, with the whole pulling a gun on him, like, good Lord. And especially with, current events, having that scene, I almost had to turn it off.
And it's
so hard to watch.
And this was made in 1991, right?
Yeah.
So this was before the riots
Yeah.
in the 90s. So this accurately depicts the tensions of the time, which we are currently experiencing now. And it's just incredibly frustrating because I was too young to understand the tensions in LA, which obviously had broader tensions throughout the country that I was totally unaware of growing up.
Yeah.
And I've become more aware as I've gotten older, and it's all coming to a head now. And I just have so much to learn about. I don't know. It's just like all this anger and hate and spewing where I was always told to trust the police.
Yeah.
And these other people have always been told to always be wary of the police. So it's like at the end when they don't call the cops or call an ambulance or anything when Ricky gets shot, they take him home.
Yeah.
Which, to me, goes against every natural instinct I've ever been taught in that situation. It's just like, no. You leave him there. You don't move him. You get him help. He might be saved.
But that's almost, I'm sure that's part of why that scene's in the beginning with the movie with the, we had somebody break in our house. I'm sitting here for an hour. Cops didn't show up to South Central.
Yeah. So it's just, so much in this movie happens. I would die in this life. I wouldn't know how to survive.
And that's kind of moving just into that, just like how hard it is to just like put yourself in the shoes. And like, for me, it's that scene with Cuba that we were talking about a minute ago. And just a brief aside, Cuba Gooding Jr. is fucking amazing in this movie.
Well, he is a great actor.
He's
a great actor.
We'll get into the actors in a minute. But that scene where just the car stops on him, rolls down a window, and pulls a gun on him. And I'm like, okay, so what I've read about this movie is that John Singleton wrote and directed it based on either events in his life or events on his friends' lives. So him or somebody he knows had pretty much everything in this movie or something similar to it happen to them. And I'm like, so this is so commonplace that they could just drop it in the movie and people are like, yep, that's South Central or Compton that we find out later.
And I work with a Latino man who has told me stories of himself growing up, not in South Central, but in Los Angeles, the rough zones.
Yeah.
And he had a story once about his brother being stabbed on the street with an ice pick, so he didn't even realize he'd been stabbed right away. And they almost didn't take him to the hospital because they didn't realize how bad it was. They were going to go find the person who had stabbed him to get revenge.
Oh, jeez.
But instead, they decided to actually go to the hospital. He was about to die. He was within an hour of dying because he was bleeding out internally.
Good Lord.
And they were still, after that, they were still worried about going back and getting retribution. And I'm just like, so I was thinking about that while I was watching this movie. I'm like, this shit is so real and I can't comprehend it.
It's so real, and it's just like, it's so like viscerally upsetting to know just kind of how sheltered we were. Like, it's just so goddamn violent. Like, so goddamn violent. And it's not like I wasn't around.
Not only sheltered, but also in an age where the news isn't a daily feed. We got, like, as a kid, I got so little news, and these days the news is everywhere, happening immediately, within reach, seconds from when it happens.
It's a 24-hour news cycle, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's just that coupled with just the directing style, it being so powerful and straightforward. Like, none of this feels it feels so natural.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of hits the hardest, is that, like, to what you said earlier, this all happened. This all happened in one way. This all happened in one form or another.
And it's still happening.
Yeah, it's still happening.
Yeah.
As we're being found out all the time.
Yeah.
And just on the directing of it, like, because I'm not sure if you've ever watched Interview with John Singleton. I actually really like John Singleton. I really kind of got into him after he did a Fast and the Furious movie. Ashamed why I became a fan, but still, I like John Singleton. But I watched him do an interview about this movie once, and he's just kind of so sweet about it. He's just like, oh yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. So people were like, he made such a visceral film. He's like, I got really lucky.
Well, he says he doesn't know what he was doing.
But clearly he did.
Clearly, his goal was to capture something.
Yeah.
And whether or not he knew exactly what he was doing, he still was able to capture it.
That's just fucking natural talent right
Yeah.
there. Like, and it's not like he didn't have a bad career after that. I mean, he had some movies that are kind of, but whatever. A lot of directors
I mean,
do.
I always was aware of this movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie that has definitely not gone anywhere.
Yeah, and he was
You
up,
said it's in the National Library now?
yeah, Library of Congress. Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's cultural significance. But I mean, yeah, he was up for best screenwriter and best director for this movie. Like he definitely made a huge impact with the first film. Super impressive. Let's kind of talk about the actors in this too, because the other, it's not just John Singleton who just exploded onto the scene with this movie. This was also the real introduction of Cuba and Ice Cube as actors.
And also, I mean, he's not as much of a film actor, but
The guy who played Rick.
hold on, Morris Chestnut.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean, is it Rosewood? His TV show.
that Rosewood was a movie.
Rosewood was a movie. I just recently saw Morris Chestnut in Goliath season 2 on Amazon,
Oh, okay.
playing a vicious lawyer, and it was like, oh, he was cool in it. He was very cool and
Oh, nice.
collected and suave, and
But he's very much active in television. I mean, he
Oh.
still is making movies as well. He just isn't as much of a household name, but he's still a prolific actor.
All three of these guys went on to have fantastic careers.
This movie also had Regina King in it,
Yeah,
which was fun seeing her play that role. I haven't
I like Regina.
I haven't seen much young Regina King.
Yeah. But I gotta say, for like a debut performance, especially because Ice Cube wasn't unknown before this. He obviously had quite a following. He had quite a fan base.
He was a musician.
Yeah. He did the song for the end of the movie. Seeing him do a movie like this, especially that time, like I kind of wish I was a little bit older to experience it. Just because this isn't the sort of guy that you would expect to deliver not just a good performance, because throughout the majority of the movie, you're like, he's filling his role. He's playing a gangster guy, and he's doing a pretty good job of that. He seems charming. I'd be buddies with him. And then by the end of that movie, when he has that speech, it's like, oh shit, he can act.
He can definitely act.
He doesn't do it very often. Like, you can tell that he kind of does it when he wants to, and he has a good time with it. But when he has something he actually wants to do with a role, Ice Cube can fucking act.
He's a multi-talented man.
He really is. He impressed the hell out of me with this movie back when I first saw it, and every time I've seen it since. And it's like this movie and Three Kings. Like, every time someone's like, Ice Cube, I'm like, nope, he can act. He can do
yeah,
it.
no,
I've
I
got
was
two examples guaranteed. There's a lot more, but those two, perfect.
Yeah, no, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen whenever he was on, just because in the intensity that he brought to it. The like, I don't know, like, it's cheesy to say the honesty, but man, this guy was going like to 11.
Yeah. And but it's also because he's acting out a life that he knew. He's from these areas.
Yeah.
He lived this stuff too.
Yeah.
So like it was an easy transition for him, but that also speaks volumes because that does take a lot to be that honest.
Yeah, and it's something that, as a white movie watcher over the years with disaffected, like the Clerks type movies, all those where you kind of just being jaded, being sarcastic and all that, just kind of getting into that vibe of things, to be confronted with honesty to this level, I'm finding that I wish I had that as an experience, just watching movies like this that were honest and cared. For lack of a better way to put it, and especially with his performance, I don't know, it hit me probably the hardest out of any performance I've seen in a while.
Yeah, for me it's that, and then it's him and Lawrence Fishburne that just kind of bring this movie to whatever astronomical level it sits at, in my opinion. I love Cuba, and I think he's great, but there's that speech about gentrification from Lawrence Fishburne that, like, that thing has stuck with me my entire life. And it's just such like it's kind of a nice scene. It's almost like it's almost kind of weirdly sweet in a way, because he brings a neighborhood together, even if it's just for like that 1 minute of like, clearly these old guys hate the young guys.
Well, that's just
But I'm just
anywhere.
But still, yeah, that's anywhere. But still, in this one thing, his message is a message of unity and actually saving their neighborhoods. And they see eye to eye, even if it's just for 1 second. And it's this kind of weird, like, everything he's saying is spot on. And he just grabbed the perfect audience. It's such unbelievably well crafted scene. It's just like perfect. I love the hell out of it.
And his delivery, it's like the faint glimmer of hope that, I don't know, when you get these things, these heavy emotions and these powerful emotions in a movie like that his scene about the gentrification is one of them. Just, I was sitting there like, what? My mouth agape. Just, it's possible. There is hope. I got kind of emotional during that.
Oh yeah, I love it when the older guy tries to throw it in his face of like but they're slinging drugs. He's like, where do you think they got the drugs?
Other people bringing it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's like, these guys didn't make them.
It's, yeah. And it does feel like a complete setup with gun shops and liquor shops. Those are two volatile things that make themselves extra volatile when combined.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say, there's so much detail in this film. And one detail that really struck with me is the presence of the helicopters.
Yeah.
They don't ever show the helicopter, at least not that I remember.
No, you
But
might see a searchlight every now and then, but
you hear it, and every time it's above you, above them, you see them cringe. It's like they're clear. It's like they're being oppressed from the skies. Like someone's always watching them, ready to destroy them. It's what it's like. You could see it on their body language, where they're always on edge, and it's made worse every time they hear a helicopter.
It's one of those things where if you have the ability to watch this with surround sound or in a theater, how I got to see it once, it is so like.
It's like when in
it's amazingly well done.
It's like in horror movies when they kind of just throw in the hum of bees.
Yeah.
In this, it's the hum of helicopters, and it's just like you're afraid to go outside.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's a mixture of like they're being oppressed at all times, and there's violence at all times.
Yeah, because it's like because the helicopter is either looking for that violence or going to incite the violence.
Yeah, no, like this. I don't think I can say enough times. Like every time I kind of go back to, I'm like, the filmmaking on this movie is so goddamn on point.
Yeah.
The other thing this movie does that I really kind of appreciate it, is the whole having him live with his dad and still having his mom be in his life. Like I liked the divorced parent approach that they had, because it seemed like it was really respectful. Like, and kind of like they had very good like mutual agreements about time until like right at this moment in the movie. And I like that they kind of showed, especially in a movie like this where there's so many problems and life can be so difficult, I like that they show that there can be easily maintained divorces with childcare. And I thought they actually kind of showed it in a rather healthy way of like, he sees his dad all the time, he has a good relationship with his dad, and he has friends at his dad's house, and he loves his mom. And then he flips and it's just the same thing. Like, he's able to stay with his dad, but his mom wants to move back because of course she does. But like it never felt like there was too much animosity, and I thought that was really kind of cool in a way. And it wasn't even something that I'd seen portrayed in many movies. Usually the divorced parents hate each other, and this one just seemed more like they had a disagreement about how far along Trey had grown as a man.
Yeah, like when you see, it is frustrating to see the mother again when you go to the cafe or wherever they are. Mm-hmm. There's definitely is some animosity because she went off, she got her degree, she doing well.
Yeah.
The apartment they show her in looks quite nice. The restaurant, cafe, whatever she meets up with Furious at, I think there was all white people around them, and it was very pink and soft and cutesy. And
yeah. But that's, I mean, yes, there was animosity, but that's why I say like it wasn't until now. Like it seemed like they had been able to maintain a pretty healthy relationship for the majority of Trey's life, which is nice.
It was nice, or is. It's just I felt bad watching that scene because it's like she's clearly a woman who wanted to do better, and it kind of feels like she decided the only way she could do that was to not be a full-time mom. Yeah. Which is flipping it on its head a little, and that's upsetting. And then she wants to have the relationship with her son that she's always wanted, but he's a man now.
Yeah.
He was like 18 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And he ain't gonna move back. He's gonna go to college.
No way. He was never gonna move back. And that was
Yeah.
kind of like the when Lawrence Fishburne or in Furious took it too far, and he's like you missed.
Oh,
He's putting her in her spot there, and then she tries to put him in his spot.
I think she
again.
did a pretty good job.
They both put each other in their spots.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't think they were as nice to each other after that. I don't know.
I think they were, because I think they're both like. The way I took that scene, and maybe I'm just being too optimistic here, but the way I took it was we did the best we could.
Yeah. Okay. Trey turned out well.
He did. He almost he flirted with not turning out well, but he came to his senses.
In those situations, I'm like, I understood all of his emotions.
Oh my god.
But yeah, the having to sit yourself back down and be like, I can't act on this.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was when he asked to be when he got into the car and then he's asked to get out of the car, and my stress level was just going up. Because I was starting to feel like a mother, where it's just like, you're covered in somebody else's blood. How far away from home are you? Is anyone going to see you? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
yeah. No, I was like, don't go. But I probably would have. I can't say I wouldn't have. But don't. Oh, you're doing it. Like all along the way, like in my head, I was just like talking to Trey. I was like, come on, don't stop, leave. But it was your friend. He was important, and I was running the gamut of emotions.
And I love, it's just so, again, talking about the script and this, the filmmaking of it, it's so well done that Lawrence Fishburne, Furious, has that wonderful moment with him. He's like, oh, you're going to shoot somebody? Shoot me. Shoot me. You bad now? Shoot me. And it's just it's fucking great. But he talks him down. He's upset. He goes into his room. But he didn't come up to this decision on his own. And this is a moment where he has to decide it on his own. It is one of those things where it's like, no one can talk you into this. You need to decide. And he hadn't decided yet.
In that moment, he's deciding the trajectory of the rest of his life.
Yeah. And he hadn't made up his mind yet. He knew his dad was right, and he got him for a second, but he's still angry. And of course he's still angry.
How
he
could
should
you
still
not
be angry.
be?
Yeah. So, like, I love that. Like, it's just such a good character moment of, my dad is right, but fuck it.
Because that other thing's right, too, on a primal level.
Absolutely on a primal level. Like, it's just so beyond fucked up. Ugh.
And then the movie doesn't let us off the hook either, which I appreciate. We get to go see it happen.
Yeah.
We take Trey's place, which we see Doughboy finally get his revenge, and just we feel everything he's saying at the end of the movie because we saw it. We saw him do it. We were there with him. We were him.
But is it even worth it?
That's what he says at the end.
Yeah.
No. He even says it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Not specifically, but he basically says, "Is like, and what's the point? Someone's gonna get me."
And then someone did.
And then someone did. Like, Doughboy is such a tragic character just throughout. Like, from the beginning of the movie, everyone's written him off. Nobody has faith in Doughboy from frame one.
Yeah. It's like even the situation that got him sent to juvie. He tried to stand up for his brother to get the ball back. He got the shit kicked out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then his brother does get the ball back, but it's not because of anything he did. It's because the other dude felt bad.
Yep.
And then he wants to take control in some fashion. So he decides to go to the store to steal something. Because, I mean, that is one thing with kleptos, or just people that steal. Other than materialism, it has a lot to do with control.
Yeah.
And then he got sent to juvie.
And it's just like the whole thing. Like, it's just... I'm glad that the main character of this movie is Trey. Because if the main character was Doughboy, I would just be a fucking wreck throughout the damn movie. Yeah. Oy. But that again speaks to the credit of how good Ice Cube was. Like, if he wasn't as good in this role, I'm not sure if we would have felt all of these things that we feel. Like, we feel that, like, he's a sad character, that he's not the villain who murders the most people in the movie. Like, he's not this horrible guy. We feel for Doughboy. We want him to be okay, and it's like he's by far the most violent person in the movie. Like, Ice Cube did such a good job.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Ricky
as
is
hell.
the least violent one, and
Yeah.
he's the one that gets murdered.
Yep. And it's one of those things where, like, it's kind of sad watching a movie like this in 2020 because it will never be as effective as it might have been in 1991 because we've seen that character get killed like that so many times because this plot point's been ripped off time and time and time and time again. So you sit down to watch it and it's pretty much like, oh, look at him. He's going to get a scholarship and go to the NFL. I know what movie I'm watching. This is
Right.
going to suck.
And it did.
And it did. It speaks to the movie's credit that even though we know it's coming from the very beginning, it still hits like a ton of bricks.
Because he wasn't paying attention.
Yep.
He was scratching off the thing to see if he won any money.
Yep. Because he didn't take it serious. It's like, they drove away. Oh.
Man.
And just like in a horror movie, don't separate.
Yeah, don't separate. But yeah. So I don't really have much else to say about this movie. That was kind of all the points that I really wanted to make sure we hit. Was there anything that you guys missed that you want to talk about?
No, I had the same points that I wanted to address that you did. So
Yeah.
Yep. Let's do favorite parts for this thing. I know it's kind of tough, but it's a great movie and it has great parts. So what's your favorite part?
When Ricky's laughing at him for being a virgin. I just think that's a good. I loved the car scene. Honestly, it was great. Honestly, I enjoyed watching two men. Two guys becoming men, talking truthfully about their sexual encounters. Coming up after him saying, "I've never lied to my dad before." The one thing he's going to lie to his dad about is whether or not he's getting anything. Elaborate lie. Elaborate.
Hey, you're stepping on my favorite part.
oh yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to find a different favorite part too. Apparently,
But it's just like when he's telling Ricky to lay off him. Leave him alone. I was afraid. I want to be a dad. And there's Ricky. He already dad.
He's already dead. No, my favorite part has to be the lie. Like, it's just one of those things where it's just so damn funny. And it's just, in a movie that doesn't make you laugh a lot, it's really nice to have a really good, funny moment. And
It's such an elaborate lie.
it's such an
But she
clearly a lie.
Her auntie grabs a cleaver and goes up the stairs after him.
Such a good shot. It's such a good shot.
oh, it's a great shot. And all their banter before that whole lie was
Yeah.
great.
I think
just-
I'm pretty positive his dad knew he was lying.
Absolutely. Parents know when their kids lie. It's a thing.
Well, since you took my favorite scene, I have another one in the lineup here. It's when the mother calls, and Trey is trying to talk to his girlfriend and try to get her to remove her clothes or something, and the mother's like, "This is still your mother," but when he answers the phone, he's like, "What is it?
Who dis?
Who dis?" Yeah. And then when he hands it to his dad's also like, "Who dis?" I'm like, "Oh damn." That's like father like son.
Yeah.
And it was just a great comedic moment that isn't as like big as the other moments, but still I got a good chuckle out of that.
Yeah. It's a good moment. So next week, just really quickly, we will be doing Poetic Justice. I'm just moving right along with his movies. This one I have not seen. I know Janet Jackson's in it, and that's about it. So I am looking forward to seeing
also
it.
all I know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only know that because I looked at the IMDb of his filmography.
And her name is Justice.
I
right?
didn't
In
even
the
know
movie,
that.
I
So
think.
I know nothing about it beyond Janet Jackson is in it. And then throughout the rest of the month, which I know is not really the month anymore because we're off by a week, but we'll do 4 weeks. It's our month. We will be doing a mix of any of the following. It would either be Rosewood, Shaft, Baby Boy. I think we're going to skip Too Fast, Too Furious, at least as a full episode. I might still watch it just for whatever they've been doing. And then maybe Four Brothers, because I'd heard that one was really good too.
I was a projectionist when that movie came out, Four Brothers. So I've seen
yeah.
it a lot of times. Like every day for
So
a
that
while.
one-
And
Might have to be one of the ones that we do then.
yeah.
Just make him see it again.
Yeah. John will be our resident expert. So yeah, quick round of plugs. be sure to check out everything else on athpod.com. Corona Cartoons is now officially Casual Cartoons. Thank you, Chewy, for the name. I just got a little tired of talking about Corona every week, and I still want to talk about cartoons until we start up the Frisky Dingo show. So I'm going to keep doing it, and we just changed the title, and that's about it. John, what are you plugging?
Demon Days, an actual play podcast. We are still going, even though we're recording online, and we're still having a good time.
Chewy, anything to plug?
Superstore will be coming back later this year.
Cool. I look forward to it. For multiple reasons.
Don't die of anticipation.
And then... No, that's everything, right? That's it? That's it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Then I will say bye.
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 See you later, bozos.